Today we're going to evaluate your definitions of what you think defines a living being. Yesterday you had to write about what you think the characteristics of life are. What I want you to do is to start off by trading papers so that you are not working with your own definition. Okay, so you will need to trade with somebody over here so that you're not working with your own. You're going to need different colors of either highlighters or pencil crayons. I've cut out some out there for you. So if they used any names for living beings, ant, cat, dog, plant, etc., I want you to color it one color. If they gave a trait or a characteristic of a living being, I want you to color that another color, please. If you agree with their trait, check it off or color it with a third color. If you disagree with any of their points, color it a fourth color, please. We have 6 kingdoms of living beings: animals, plants, protists, archaebacteria, eubacteria, and fungi. So what were some names of organisms that your person put down?
Animals and plants.
Okay. Michael, what were some of the names of organisms that your person mentioned?
Humans, animals, plants, bacteria.
Okay, so humans, animals, plants. Okay, I'll put 1 X in each for bacteria. Any other organisms? What about you, Brayden?
Human, plants. They're like animals. You had amphibians, mammals, birds.
And, pardon me?
You had amphibians, mammals, and birds.
Amphibians, okay.
You also had creatures.
Okay. Yeah.
Don't judge me.
Okay. Specificity is really good. What about you, Spencer?
Plants.
Pardon me?
Plants.
Plants. Okay.
And I guess humans. Humans too.
Humans. Okay. Desiree, what living beings did your person mention?
Trees, plants, dogs, cats, humans, and aquatic life.
Okay. Hayden, what organisms?
Humans, plants, and animals.
Hunter?
Let's see here. Humans, plants, animals, the sun,
Okay, so
seas.
okay. This is quite common. When we start to think about living beings, we actually have a very narrow perspective of different kinds of living beings. We often see a very large representation of animals. So when you think of something that's alive, that's the kingdom we tend to think about. Plants is usually the second runner-up because we know that animals have a very close connection with plants, either because they're directly eating those plants, or we know that we need plants within our food chain in order for ourselves to get energy, even if we're carnivores or meat eaters. Oftentimes, we don't think of these other four kingdoms when we think of living beings. How come you think that is?
You can't see them. You don't physically see them.
Absolutely, out of sight, out of mind. You know about them when you get sick with them, though, and they make your life miserable. For example, a bacterial pneumonia, or if you get a gastrointestinal infection, you're barfing out your cookies. You're thinking about bacteria then. But we don't normally think about these other four kingdoms. And part of my job in this unit is to expand what you think about when we say living beings. Okay, now we get to the arguing part. Traits. What did they say was a characteristic or a trait of a living being?
Michael said that a living being is something that converts one form of energy into another.
Okay, so uses energy. Okay, that's a good place to start. Connor, what did your person say?
If something is living, if it in some way, shape, or form it breathes oxygen, or if it has gills, it breathes underwater.
Okay, so breathing.
To be honest, I don't. They must not have very bad breath.
Usually we throw words around like oxygen, so we're getting more specific about what the organism is breathing. Michael, what did Spencer say about characteristics?
Like move and breathe.
Okay.
Show me where the other characteristics are.
That's a challenge.
He can't read. Kaylee said, can feel pain and emotion.
Okay.
No, she
Provides
feels
life to
anger.
another organism.
Provides food.
Oh.
Provides life.
What about on Michael's sheet? Oh no, we already asked you. What about on your person sheet?
Grows and transforms, takes in nutrients, produces and gives life, has a healing process.
So grows, nutrients. What were the other two?
Gives life, has a healing process.
Okay. So does they expound upon what they mean when they say gives life? Do you think that they're meaning like has kids? Or is able to say, paper, you're not alive, boom, you were alive.
I think that just means like produce.
Okay. All right, Hayden?
They living things grow, consume, and they can decompose.
Oh, okay. Now, it is an interesting one that I haven't heard. And Hunter.
Grow has a heartbeat, breathing, some level of brain activity, adrenaline, ability to react.
Oh.
I did not mean to write it half of that.
React.
Only there's something in there. Even if it's just don't use that.
Okay. Do you think that there is something that's not on this list that we need to put on this list?
On my sheet, buddy.
Need the sun to live.
Provides life to another.
Okay.
Provides a food source.
All right. Okay, let's talk about the first one. Uses energy, consumes food, has some kind of food source, has some sort of nutrient acquisition. Do you agree or disagree with that one? How many of you agree with the first point? That all living things need to use energy, consume food, have a food source. Okay, so you're all agreeing with that. What about this concept of breathing or getting oxygen in? Do you agree? Do you disagree?
Yes, first up, does anyone know of anything that doesn't breathe?
Bacteria, does that?
Do
Pardon me?
bacteria breathe?
I didn't hear the question.
Oh, do bacteria breathe? It does bacteria.
Ooh. What do we mean when we say breathe?
That's the thing, like plants don't breathe, but they consume oxygen.
They have food.
Yes.
They produce oxygen.
They
But they have
produce
their own-
and they consume oxygen, actually. Because plants do both photosynthesis and they do cellular respiration. But do plants breathe?
No.
Not like us.
I'm not seeing any inhalation exhalation processes on the plant in the corner there.
Probably not, no.
No, it's rather
You like
Do bacteria breathe?
I don't know.
Okay,
I've never
maybe we need
it's only the second
another
class,
word rather than breathing.
Absorption. Consumption.
Okay, so absorb gases.
It's not sensitive.
Do all organisms need oxygen?
Yes. Well, no,
Are you sure?
bacteria doesn't.
Is that your final answer?
No, I don't think bacteria does.
I don't think fungi do either.
Correct. Bacteria do not need oxygen.
Because isn't it the lack of oxygen that creates the bacteria?
No,
No.
not necessarily. It creates conditions where some bacteria can live. How many of you make your own sauerkraut at home?
To eat sauerkraut is the real.
I used to with
You
my
used to,
grandpa.
okay. So what creates the sour?
Bacteria.
Yes,
Is that the same with blue cheese?
yes.
It's like
But, well, blue cheese is actually fungi.
oh, same thing.
You deliberately, like you put a nail or something into the cheese and you deliberately put spores of fungi in there to grow and reproduce.
Who wants to eat that?
So sauerkraut is actually produced, that sour taste is produced by bacteria through the process of fermentation. Beer and alcohol. Beer is produced by?
Yeast,
Yes. Wine is produced by?
fermenting grapes.
Well, you use grapes as the energy
That's the
source.
fermenting part of it.
Ah, so not all things need oxygen in order to survive. Think about some of the deepest parts of the ocean. If you go down into the Marianas Trench, which is many kilometers below the surface of the water, how are those bacteria down there surviving?
They don't need oxygen.
There's very, very little oxygen in those parts of the ocean. So they actually don't need oxygen to survive. However, all living things do need to absorb a gas of some kind, whether it's oxygen, carbon dioxide, or another type of nutrient.
Because you're bacteria, nobody likes.
Some bacteria are what we call chemosynthetic bacteria, and they can use the chemicals of the surrounding environment, absorb them, and build the molecules that they need to survive. So breathing is not the word that we're looking for. What we're looking for is gas exchange. All organisms do need to do some kind of gas exchange. What about this idea of pain, emotion, feeling, react, brain activity?
I want to say that they can produce pain because there is a plant that, like, I'm not saying all plants can, but there's a plant that if you lift the leaf, it produces like a I don't know what it produces, but it produces something to like try to defend itself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, and plus there's Venus flytraps.
That's a good one. So how does the Venus flytrap work?
Well,
Okay, so what is causing the Venus flytrap pod to do that?
It has a whole bunch of little like sensor hairs
Yes.
that are really sensitive, and as soon as something like tickles the hairs, it
Mhm.
goes on it.
So you can, if you have a Venus flytrap plant, you can actually trigger the pods to close by hitting those hairs. But it learns. If I sit there with a pen or a pencil for a day or so and keep tickling those trigger hairs, it will start ignoring me. It will start learning that the vibration that I'm creating is not an actual insect. And it's not going to waste its time and energy closing the pods. What about something like a jellyfish? Do you think a jellyfish has the ability to perceive pain? Does it have a brain?
No.
No. It has what we call a nerve net, not a brain. It is able to perceive pain because it does have some kind of nerves in order to take in stimulus and say, I don't like that. And to defend itself. A jellyfish is very good at defending itself. What about something like a bacteria, which is a single cellular organism? Do you think it has the ability to perceive something that it doesn't like? Absolutely.
Well, when you go to kill it, it reacts by trying to come back.
Absolutely. Or if a particular place is really hot, it might be attracted to that place, or it might move away from that place depending on if it's what we call a thermophile. Thermophile bacteria love hot spots. Those are the bacteria that live in hot springs, like in Yellowstone National Park in the United States. However, bacteria that infect us don't like being too warm. That's one of the reasons why our immune system has a fever to fight off foreign invaders. If it's too hot in our body, the bacteria will start to die. So if we say response to stimuli rather than saying brain activity, because not everything has a brain, things are able to react. Whether or not that react is a feeling, like an emotional feeling or not, is up for debate. There are many scientists who argue that plants have feelings. What about the concept of growth? Do all living things grow?
To some degree.
Do all living things grow at the same rate?
No.
No. Think about even the human population, right? Are we all the same height? No. No, we're not. Okay. We all start growing at a different state. We all cease to grow 18, 19 years old.
They still have time to grow taller.
What about giving life? Do you agree? Do you disagree with that?
I agree. I kind of agree, but I want to say, because like Connor said earlier, you can be infertile, so I want to say everything tries to reproduce. Doesn't mean they can, though.
Yes. Can you think of populations of animals where not all individuals have the ability to reproduce? Yes. Worker bees, or the drones, do not have the ability to reproduce. Who does in the bee colony?
The queen.
The queen bee. If the queen bee dies, what happens?
Then they all die.
One of those worker drones becomes the queen bee. So some populations are really unique because their reproductive systems might not be fully functional unless there's an environmental cue, and then their reproduction can change. Some species have the ability to change their gender.
Oh,
Can't like octopus?
isn't that like a clownfish?
Yeah,
Yes, probably one of the best known examples. Depending on the environmental cues, the population around it, a clownfish can change its gender.
Can I go get pictures?
Yes. So when we think about the idea of reproducing, please keep in mind that not all individuals within a population might be able to reproduce. However, the population has that capacity. This is a really interesting one. Decomposes. What does that mean?
Breaks down.
Okay, so do all living things have the ability to be broken down?
When they die.
What do you think?
Depends on how, but I guess everything
What is?
can, in theory, be broken down.
Yes.
Oh, I guess. It can.
Is that characteristic only limited to living things?
No.
No.
So if you think of a rock, can a rock be broken down into smaller pieces?
Yes.
With
Yes.
force.
So you can mechanically weather a rock. Can you chemically transform that rock?
No.
Absolutely you can. Think about limestone.
No.
Yeah, I suppose.
If you expose limestone, which is calcium carbonate, to acid rain,
It's like
you will actually have the decomposition of that limestone. You went to Mexico for Christmas, right? Did you go into any of the underwater caves?
That's what I was just gonna say. Stalactites.
Those are the calcium carbonate coming down from the ceiling.
the lake.
Uh-huh.
Stalactites.
So we call limestone land formation karst land formations. Most of the rivers in Mexico are not at ground level. Most of the rivers are actually underneath the ground because the water has worn away the limestone. You have to go down. So in order for the different Mexican populations to thrive, they had to find cenotes, which were areas where you could access the underwater, or they would be just these big open round pools, very, very deep pools of water, and get their fresh water.
Stalactites are like a rock, aren't they? Kind of.
They are, so if you're in a cave,
They're the things that hang. Yeah.
so they're not actually a type of rock, they're a type of land formation that is formed when that water evaporates and leaves behind minerals.
Because they take forever. Like if you break them, they take forever to go back.
You can also have stalagmites, which are formed from as things drip down and leave minerals. So those are the spikes on the floor.
We're swimming like they're like this.
Mm-hmm.
Since you just like
Exactly. You should too. There's times where like you. But
don't touch them, just like they're everywhere.
This is what they look like.
It's like putting
and then yeah, the water's like so reflective too.
Oh, it's amazing. It is so clear. I'm not sure if it will get a good underwater caravan. Here's an underwater caravan. Right here. So you can go on underwater tube tours, and they'll have different stalactites and stalagmites lit up. You'll often have a helmet, because you don't want to bang your head on one of these, and that helmet will also have a light. Very, very beautiful land formations.
Like you were snorkeling. Just kidding. Anyways, it quit.
So already you've identified areas of defining life that we agree and don't agree upon. What I want to do is take a look at some of the ways that they tried to define life historically, starting with Aristotle. And I'm going to take these definitions in again. I did not get a chance to look at them, so I'll collect them and put them back in the tray. Please copy down this sheet of notes. Do you know who Aristotle was?
He's a Greek philosopher.
Yes. You'll run across citations of Aristotle's work all over science, chemistry, physics, biology, etc. It's running out. Now, I thought everything was plugged in, so let's check. Oh. There we go. He said that living things were characterized by having a soul. So I tried to find out what he meant by that. And he has several ideas of what a soul was. Capacity to engage in activities characteristic of living things, casually responsible for behavior, part of a living thing that cannot be separated. What do you think a soul is? Interesting thing to talk about. It gets into a bit of a religious discussion too. Mm-hmm. So, one of the aspects of the Christian faith is that when you expire, what goes to heaven?
Your soul.
What is your soul?
That's it. Your soul is maybe like your will to live, and then your personality and all, like
You, just not your body.
yeah.
Okay, it's not your body. Okay.
So it's like
Does everybody agree with that? Okay.
it's who you are. It's your personality. It's who you are outside of your body, like who you are on the inside. Kind of.
Okay.
Like Spencer said, who you are without your body.
Okay, so who you are without a body. All right. So what characterizes the things of who you are?
How you treat other people.
Okay. So your personality
Yeah.
is what moves on?
How people treated you, like,
Mm-hmm.
because like they say, like being good is good for your soul. Like, you know.
Does that include your memories?
I wouldn't say so.
So if we all go to heaven, will we remember each other?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so then some kind of memory does go on. Are you going to remember everything I said in Biology 30 when you go to heaven?
No, I think an idea of who you were.
Next Tuesday, let alone.
That's honesty.
I'll remember chunks of it, just chunks.
Okay.
I won't remember every little detail.
So maybe we don't remember events. Do you think we remember people?
I'd say so.
Yeah, ones that had
Distinct people who put a mark on. Yeah, who played
Okay.
a pretty big role in your life.
Mm-hmm. So there's some part of us that makes us who we are, that continues onward. Think about these living things that you listed way back here. Okay, we have our 6 kingdoms. Mm-hmm.
Can I go and round up a couple?
So if we think, in Aristotle's perspective, that a living being is characterized by a soul, think about all those things that we listed in your free write yesterday. Which one of those things would you characterize as having a soul? Do people have a soul?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, so I think every prey right had people in there.
As well as animals?
Does your dog have a soul?
Yes.
I say
Yes.
All dogs go to heaven.
All.
No,
It's a child's movie.
Does your cat have a soul?
I think all animals. No.
Yes.
No.
I think all animals have souls.
Horses,
Yes.
Yes, of course. Not Barbie though.
mosquitoes.
No,
Yeah.
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 Ooh.
No man, it's
I heard a couple
of
no's.
going.
I heard a couple no's. Why is a mosquito, or would you say a mosquito does not have a soul?
Because heaven's supposed to be all good things. You don't mosquitoes there.
Because we hate
Do snakes have a soul?
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't mind snakes.
Okay.
Can't determine whether or not something is a soul based
So,
on
if you like something, it has a soul. But if you don't like something, it does not have a soul. That's how you're going to characterize. Okay. I think somebody said leech
Oh.
earlier for one of their living beings. Does a leech have a soul?
I'd say.
Does a plant have a soul? Why are you saying no?
I'd say what I think has a soul is something with like I don't know how to explain it, but like a walking, breathing animal, like how we characterize like cats, dogs, humans, horses,
Mm-hmm.
you know, like stuff like that. That's what I like. Even fish, birds, like that kind of stuff has a soul, but
Human companions.
yeah,
And mosquitoes.
but not a plant because it's.
Oh.
I don't know. It's. I would say that has a soul.
Do fish have souls?
It's not an easy thing to decide, is it?
It's not easy. No.
And where is that line where we say it has a soul or it does not have a soul? What is that defining characteristic?
Something that can make like conscious decisions.
Oh, decision making?
Because
Okay.
like plants because I guess they don't have a brain from what we know, but like they sort of like the photosynthesis and stuff. It just like happens.
Okay.
I guess I don't think they make the conscious decision to do the photosynthesis. Like you know what I mean?
So if it's able to independently do a process such as photosynthesis, it has a soul?
Like yeah, something like just like making the conscious decisions on its own. Like I'm making the decision to wave my arm right now. Like you know what I mean?
So is a plant thinking, okay, it's daytime, I'm going to do photosynthesis?
No, it just
I
goes
think
and
it's just
does it.
yeah, like it happens.
I would say it's like something that can think and has thought because like a dog you can train it to
Yes.
do tricks. A horse I can train it to do what I want to do. But like can you train a mosquito to not suck your blood?
Okay, so having the ability to
Communicate.
have a
Yeah.
cause and a effect relationship, I guess.
Something like that, yeah.
Make the conscious decisions.
Like even a cat is like pees on something and you rub its nose in the pee, it's not gonna pee on that again. Like you can teach it and have like a relationship with it to communicate, hey, don't do that again.
Having a relationship.
But what if
So,
somebody likes having relationships?
Can I have a relationship with the bacteria in my large intestine?
I hope not.
I don't think she meant like that.
But it's doing all sorts of cool things. It's helping me break down my food. It's providing me with vitamin K. So
Can I talk to you really quick?
okay. So you want those bacteria there. So thinking about Aristotle's definition of having a soul. This is our sole basis for deciding if something is going to be categorized as alive or not alive. Is a human being categorized as alive?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. A fertilized egg at the moment of conception. Does it have a soul?
No.
Why not?
It's nothing yet. It has no memories. It has
Okay, so we need some kind of memories going on.
no
It
personality.
it's not feeding itself. It's hooked up to
Okay.
it still.
So it's not an independent
Yeah, it's
entity
not
yet?
independent.
Okay. Okay. Is it making any kind of conscious decision making?
No.
That's something that you mentioned earlier.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, but okay, so like you say that, but what happens when it's born? Like when it's born,
Well,
would you
there's
say it
more
has a soul?
options up there.
I know, but
than
when it's
those.
born, it's like it's not independent. It still can't make decisions. Is it dead then, even
Well, it's
though it's
making
born?
decisions.
It's making
like
decisions.
moving its
It's still, it's
body
moving,
parts.
it's
Okay.
Not
by
conscious.
itself.
It's grabbing stuff to
All right.
chew on
So
stuff
okay,
that
let's take the trimesters and divide them up then. So we have 0 to 3 months.
What are they
So
doing
from
at that?
conception to 12 weeks.
Well, when do they get to the point where like, if like something happened, they could still survive outside of the womb? What is that, like 6 months?
Okay, independent survival or with medical intervention.
Well, like nowadays in the hospital.
Yes. So with medical intervention, I've heard of children being born as early as 4 months. But they're in the hospital for a really, really long time, and they're likely to have some major respiratory issues. The respiratory system is one of the last things to develop in an unborn child. Think about it. When the child is in the uterus developing, how does it breathe? How does it get its oxygen? The umbilical cord, right? The child actually doesn't use its lungs when it's in the uterus. So the respiratory system is actually one of the last things to survive. So between 0 to 12 weeks, would you say that unborn child is alive or not alive?
Not alive?
This is too deep with all the stuff going on in the U.S. with the abortion laws and stuff now.
And it affects Canadian laws too. What if I told you that child has a detectable heart rate by about 3.5 to 4 weeks? Does that change your mind?
Then I would say it's alive.
Okay. So having a heart rate is a consideration for having a soul?
Maybe not a
Well,
soul,
like,
but it'd
well,
be alive.
yeah, I
It'd
would
be
say
alive.
because like heart and soul, it kind of goes together.
Okay.
Well, that's what they say at least.
That's what they say at least.
Really? Who
So
says that?
would you say that an unborn child has a soul between 3 to 6 months? So 12 weeks
Oh, yes, it's
to
all alive.
24?
Yeah, once it starts developing.
I would say.
How do you know?
If it still has that heartbeat.
Okay, so having a heartbeat is
I mean, it.
necessary for having a soul?
Wait, I thought we were talking about it being alive or not. What are we talking about?
Well, when it's alive and then when it has a soul.
I don't know. I don't know when it'll get its soul, but
What about the last trimester? Does that child have a soul?
Well,
Yeah, I would say so. I would
Why?
say you could feel the child kick
Okay.
and you can watch it move. Like,
Okay, so it's responding and moving on its own.
yeah.
If you press on the side of mom's belly, sometimes you'll feel that child will press back or kick back at you. So there's some kind of a
It's still,
response.
attached to the umbilical cord, like that's how it gets like the nutrients and all that. But it's still making, like Michael said, conscious decisions. It's
Okay.
moving its
Yeah,
body.
okay.
just because we don't remember doing it as a child doesn't mean it happened.
Well, yeah, because you don't really start to remember things until you're about 3. So what? Do you not have a soul and you're not alive until you're 3 years old?
So,
Oh, interesting.
Mama said a lot of grandiose stuff.
Now, if I recall correctly, some of you are Catholic,
Yeah.
right?
I
When
mean,
is a child baptized?
I don't know.
Usually when they're like just first born.
When they're first
Like
born,
when they're babies.
Yeah, shortly.
depending on the Christianity, the sect.
I don't know. I'm not like that churchy, so.
Okay.
I know what religion I am, but it's,
So is a child typically baptized immediately when they're born?
well, not like right when they come out, like you go home, it's like a few days after, or like a week or so after, but it's like when they're a young baby, yeah.
So when they're first born, do they have a soul? Or do they not have a soul until they're baptized?
I would say they have a soul when they're born.
Why?
Because, just because you don't get it just because you don't get a child baptized or adhere to that sect,
Or not every
Christianity or
child
like
is
that.
baptized.
Exactly.
Right?
This is
I'm
my
not
point. I'm not baptized. I mean, I
Okay,
would
so
say I think I have a soul.
having a soul is not directly tied to a religious practice.
Yeah, that's my point.
No,
It's not
because then
directly
you
tied.
would be saying like, dogs don't have a soul because they're not
Yeah,
baptized.
nothing
Like,
has a soul then
you-
besides
you
people who are
can't use
baptized.
religion to determine what
Well,
and
it's just
what
the
does not
reason
have
why
a
I
soul.
asked that question was because at one point, children were not allowed in the church until they were baptized.
But the church doesn't determine
So
if
you
you
would
have
have
a
a
soul or not.
separate building
far as
called
I'm
the
concerned.
baptistry, where baptism would happen, and then once the child was baptized, they could come into the church. You had to be a baptized person in order to practice. Now, that was many, 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 many years ago. But water. What do you think? Does water have a soul?
No.
Dog, you argued already that a dog has a soul. Do you agree? Disagree?
Dogs can have a soul.
Okay. A rock?
Yeah. Oh, a rock? No, I thought
No.
you meant mosquito.
Does a mosquito have a soul?
Yeah.
Well, I'd say yeah.
I would say so.
I want
Why?
to say no, but
How
I'll
do you
say
know it
yes.
has a soul?
Ah, I say no. I hate mosquitoes.
You can't say no just because you don't like mosquitoes. Doesn't
Oh,
have a soul. They
They
need
don't make decisions.
You know, it's interesting. This
All they
like
know how to
and
do is suck
cuteness
blood.
idea
They're
comes
making
up
the choice
all
to
the
suck your
time.
blood, though.
So if we see something as being cute, likable, useful, it has a soul.
Well,
No.
maybe for Desmond.
There's some ugly horse